Come back, guys. So let's go to another background attribute, which I call background image. So how do we insert background image? Now in CSS, for you to add the background image, so let me add this to our body so that it could be obvious. So we'll just come in here, we'll say, okay, background image, then we'll put a URL. Now, inside the URL is where you put the location of your image. Remember in our HTML when we're adding images, we put the location of our image here, but we don't have an image. So let's just go online. Let's just get to some random image. I think let's go to Unsplash. Unsplash, we get free images in Unsplash. In case you don't know, that's it. So let me just come in here, click on this. Let me click on this image. Let me right click. Let me get the address. Then, sorry. So you can come here and say, okay, this is our background image. So I'm getting that address as our background image. Let's go back to our web page and refresh. Now you can see we have our background image, but it's been repeated several times. Don't worry. What if you want to use an image that is not online? Yes, I will take us through that. But let's try an online image for now and see how it works. Okay, so now we have an image. So one of the thing we have in image, one of the attributes of our background image, yeah, aside background image, we can also in CSS we can control the repeat, whether it should repeat that image or not. We can say, okay, no, we don't want it to repeat. We just come say, okay, background repeat. Then we'll say, okay, we have the x-axis and the y-axis. We can say, okay, repeat to the x-axis or repeat to the y, or we can say, okay, no repeat. If we come to no repeat and I come in here and I refresh, you can see we have our background just to one place because the background image is not big enough to contain the whole screen. But we could still adjust more, adjust further. We can say, okay, our background size, we can try to give it 500 pixels, 600 pixels. Let's say, okay, 900 pixels. That's our background size. That's the size we want for our background image. If I refresh now, you see it's getting a bit bigger. But I would advise sometimes there are some other presets, some default size, like we have contain. I will say contain. It's going to contain the page. Can you see? This is where the image can actually contain. This is the real size of the image. But if I say, okay, let's use what we call cover. If we choose cover and refresh, it's going to cover the whole page. Now, covering the whole page, you know, the image is not the same size with our screen, so you might not be able to cover. So if you have an image that doesn't have a very good resolution, you might end up getting what you don't want. Let's see if we can get another image that is a bit big, that is a bit wide, probably that the cover might look a bit better. Okay, let's look at this. This is a wide image. Let me just copy the image address, go back to my CSS and change the image address here. So if I come in here and I refresh my page, can you see this looks better because the image is actually large. It's not portrait, it's landscape in nature. So it makes our site looks a bit better. So now we have inserted a background image. Now what if we want to insert the image locally? We don't want to go online to insert our image. So how do you go about that? So let's come here. Okay, let me just save this image. Save the image. We're still having the watermark there. Let me save it to my pictures and let me call it bg image. We have a VIF. No. Let's get another image. Okay, this is a free image. Let's download this. Okay, this has been downloaded. So let me pick this image. This is the image. I'm picking it. So I'm going to our folder. You go into your folder. This is your project folder, if you remember. So I told you I like organizing my codes. I like organizing my folders. So you can just right click here, new, create a new folder, call the folder images. You can see it's being organized. If everything have to be here, it won't be that organized. And come here, paste your image here. Let's change the name to just there. Now, if you remember in our HTML, I mentioned something about picture extension. Now it's an important time to take note of that. This extension of this picture is what? JPG. JPEG. So we can come here and remove this. Now, where is our image? Our image is inside the image folder. So we can just say, okay, / go out of this folder, then / image. You go to image, then use .jpg. Now let's check and see if this is actually working. If we come to our CSS here and we refresh, can you see we have our image? So we have our background image set. So let's check. Let's go on. Let's just make some little modifications and see if it affects our background image. Let's see how well it affects our background image. So if I save this and I come here and I refresh, you can see content, it's not good. So it's not going to make our image to look good. So let's try and let's say our background size is let's say 800 pixels and save. Let's go back and refresh. You see, so like advice, we just use, you say we should cover up, cover. So when we use cover, I will come here and we'll refresh. See, everything is fine. So that's about background. So we have a lot of other things, hosting that has to do with background. So let's talk about background attachment. Now, background attachment is how does that work? For instance, you have a lot of text on the page and you want, when they scroll over, you want the background to remain. Don't worry, I'll make an example now. That's what we call background attachment. So we want the background to remain even when people are busy scrolling and there are a lot of content on the page and you are not even sure whether the background will cover all through the content. Okay, so for instance, now let me go back to our index.html. Let me just duplicate this code. Let me duplicate this paragraph so that we're going to have a lot of paragraph. So we just wrote our first 140 line of code. Okay, so let me refresh this. Now you can see we have our image. It's not looking good because it had to cover everything. So, but let's say, okay, let's go back to our HTML. Let's give our image, let's give it like, let's say we want to give it like 1800 pixels. Sorry, so if I come in here and I refresh this, you can see here. So once you scroll to the level, our image disappears because it doesn't cover the rest. But we can come to our CSS and just add one line. It's okay. Background attachment. Background attachment. We can have fixed, we can have scroll, and a lot of things. Let's just use fixed and see how it works. So if I should refresh now, if I'm scrolling through, the image remain fixed while I'm able to scroll my text over the image. So I don't have to like worry myself about the background, like I have to repeat or something or so. No. So let's try another attribute called scroll. So we'll see how scroll works. So if I refresh this now, so you can see that immediately I pass the background scrolls away. I don't have access to the background again. You know, those are the two major attributes that we use. Others are just trying to say, okay, at one point or the other, don't do this, or inherit, use whatever you inherit there, or use the initial one that was set. So let's use fixed here as our background attachment. So I don't know, should I end the class here? Okay, so let's end it here. So in next class, we'll move on to talking about borders, and I want you to just solve the net since you already have idea. Try and learn other things like try and get some other properties and try and make use of them before the next class. Thank you very much. Like I promised, I always keep the class very, very short.